Hi guys, welcome back here to this channel.
Good morning, bonjour. I was about to say salamat. Magandang buhay, magandang gabi, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time, whatever language, whatever nation you may be watching from. I'm also talking from my nose, which makes me sound very weird.
Oh, anyway, so today we are making a very fun video. I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. If you have been following me for a while, you know that I've tried to do a movie review before that I'm not very proud of, but I want to keep trying because I love watching movies and I love talking about movies. So I'm going to start talking about them some more. And last time we talked about sisters, and this time I'm going to talk about a movie that a lot of us loved, and I thought that this would be a good movie to start with, just basically because, you know, a lot of us loved it, a lot of people have watched it, and I'm just gonna be saying a couple stuff about what I thought about the movie. From the title, you already know, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I loved this movie the first time I watched it. I've watched it multiple times. I actually watched it last week again, just because it's just one of those cute, feel-good rom-coms that I would argue that we rarely get this from Hollywood. Honestly, I'm used to seeing rom-coms like this in Asians, where in K-dramas, which makes sense because the writer is actually Korean or something. Makes sense because there is a way that they write or that they present, or they write rom-coms to be feel-good, to be love, to be sweet, to be good, as opposed to a lot of, not all of them, a lot of, I was about to say, oh, another good one is Crazy Rich Asians until I was Crazy Rich Asians. There's a way that Hollywood has ended up presenting rom-coms as some, you know, sexual thing where people are just all over each other, or stupid humor that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I'm not saying Asians don't have stupid humor that doesn't make sense, but I'm just saying that there is a way that Asians have been presenting rom-coms over the last couple of years that Hollywood had lost it. And so it was about time that they noticed that, listen, they got all the goods, which is why I love this movie. So anyway, let's get into the cast first. We have Lara Jean, played by Lena Condor. I honestly cannot imagine anybody else playing this better. I've never seen Lena Condor. I hope I'm pronouncing Connor. I don't think it's Condor. I think it's Connor. I don't know. I'm just gonna call her Lena for now. Or Lana. I don't know how she pronounced her name. Point is, I'd never seen her before, and she did so great in this movie that made me think, oh my god, we've been sleeping on this girl. And literally, she took off from there. She's been in X-Men. She did a series that I tried to watch, but just I didn't like the show, but I really love her. And a bunch of other projects that she got to do, including To All the Boys 2, which stay tuned for that for the next video because I'm gonna do a review for that one too. But I think for me personally, one of the things that really hit it off with Lena playing this character is listen, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because she as a person can connect to this character so much, because I don't know, it's just her acting skills. Because in real sense, she seems more like an extrovert, outgoing person, people person compared to Lara Jean. But she played the character so well and made her so relatable to us all. And it was just a beautiful work of art. Now, going to the next one, and that is Peter Kaminsky, Noah Santaniello, who exploded, became the new internet sweetheart, which, you know, some people even hated him for it because he was like, people were like, he's overrated. And honestly, to be honest, I don't think he's overrated. I think he has a super attractive voice. I think he has the perfect height to be the stud or to be everyone's crush. He is attractive generally. I mean, we could argue so many people who are cuter than him, but point is, I don't think he was overrated. I think he got just the right amount of attention that he did, and not just with his looks, but also even with his acting, because the way he portrayed Peter Kaminsky, I haven't read the book, so I'm not talking from the point of the book. I'm talking from the movie that I watched, that I loved watching him. He is basically that high school boy that, you know, I would have wanted to date. Sadly, that did not happen. Why did we have Peter Kaminsky in high school? Like, really? On another character that I think is not given enough credit is Chris. Chris, played by a girl, I don't know her real name, but I think the character of Chris was just one of the funny, humorous, just feel like Kitty totally makes the movie. It's the thing about this wasn't just the two lovebirds. It was about everybody else that brought that came into the movie. And then we have the popular mean girl that whose name I can't currently remember, but I think she was the typical mean girl. Watching these movies makes me wonder. The fact that we keep seeing them in every rom-com, in every teenage-based movie means these people actually exist. It makes me curious about what it would have been like for me to go to a high school in America. Do these mean girls really exist, and are they really as shallow and dense and nonsensical as they sound in the movie? I mean, this one wasn't particularly portrayed to be dumb, but the thing is, she was the typical average mean girl. I usually sometimes like mean girls. This one in particular, I didn't like her. Not to hate her or to like her. She wasn't that exciting. The way this mean girl is situated is just, she's not that exciting. Anyway, another character was Josh, another really not exciting character. I don't know what it was about him, but Josh just came off really boring. I think that's why it was so easy for us to ship Lara Jean with Peter in this first movie. It was just Peter against Josh. Really, like, Josh really had no game, wasn't given anything to, like, you know, make Lara Jean struggle with, as we'll get to talk about more. Let's now get into the storyline. The story begins with Lara Jean, a fantastic a girl that just lives in fantasy world, which I can personally relate to, being a person that lives in the fantasy land a lot more than I admit, a lot more than I should. But also another thing we see right off from the beginning is the messy room that Lara Jean has, which was a great relatable feature. Like, we can all relate. If you are an organized teenager, congratulations. I mean, y'all saw my room last week. We still trying to get over that stage. At least now we clean up. But as far as my teen age was concerned, we probably cleaned up one time all the year round, and it looked like Lara Jean's room. So that was something that a lot of us could relate to. So that was a minute detail that was really fun to watch. And then we see Lara Jean being a bad driver, another very relatable feature about her. And we see a cute, a beautiful image of a single dad family and a dad that is trying to, you know, raise 3 girls. This was something very refreshing to watch and beautiful to watch, because he has managed to bond with the girls very much, even though there are so many things that these girls end up struggling. Okay, not so many things, but the things that these girls end up struggling with, that they cannot necessarily tell their dad in detail. But we see a father that is striving to be the best that he can to his 3 girls, and that was a beautiful image to watch. Another thing, I say I look like I'm actually announcing the news when really we're talking about To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Just calm down, Elice. Anyway, so the story follows along that this Lara Jean has a crush on Josh, her sister's boyfriend, which is something I can't even fathom to have even experienced myself, because I don't know, my sister has really terrible taste. I'm just kidding. My sister has excellent taste, and I have pretty weird taste, so like I can't even see that happening in real life. But I bet there are some people that have struggled with that, or maybe it is something that is more fictional than realistic. I don't know. Anywho, it was a quite interesting storyline, because I'm used to, which even in this movie we see, I'm used to seeing a girl crushing on their best friend's boyfriend, or a girl crushing on like a neighbor. But this time it brings a different flavor, that it is a neighbor but also sister's boyfriend. So really, the forbidden fruit, except there's nothing as tasty as the forbidden fruit, which is why she kept having these feelings for this boy. Interesting thing about this movie was that it introduced the whole idea of how what was the sister's name? I can't quite remember, but it introduces a very interesting idea that I personally had never heard of before, and I think half of it makes sense, the other half is really nonsensical. But the idea that you gotta break up with your boyfriend before going to college because you don't really know who you will become, I think it is sensible in the sense that definitely in college you'll end up long distance dating, especially for young people, is just really hard, and you evolve and become different people. So save yourself the heartache in the long run and just break up before going to college. Kind of makes sense to me, but also really nonsensical in the sense that there are people who did long distance while the girl, or they did long distance while the different colleges in different locations, and they made it and they grew together and they're now married and they're doing great. And then also obviously one of the main part of this movie is the fact that she kept writing letters to these boys, which it's pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure there are people that have tried this in real life. Just write love letters and send them out. You never know. Your Peter could be out there. I could relate to this in the sense that I write journals, and my journals had a lot of my crushes in them. So like my biggest fear was someone reading my journals back in the day and they would actually know who I'm crushing on, or like my crush finding my journal somewhere. Like there are a lot, and I know I wasn't the only one, there are a lot of teenage girls that kept writing their feelings in journals or in form of letters or in form of whatever writing setup that they could put. So to put that in a movie that we all can watch was just really nostalgic to watch. Now let's talk about the choice of soundtracks. Let me tell you, the choice of soundtracks in this movie was just, these are the soundtracks that, let me tell you, we all needed, but we didn't know we needed. There's a beautiful choice of soundtracks in this movie for every like feeling and whatever. It was just, it's poppy, I love this movie, in case you haven't noticed. Anyway, another thing that I thought brought questions from this movie was the fact that, can we talk about the scene where Lara Jean jumps Peter? I think that was, while it was kind of funny or whatever, I feel like if this movie was turned around and it was Peter that jumped Lara Jean, everybody would talk about it and it would be, oh my gosh, that's rape, that's whatever. But somehow Lara Jean doing that, I saw a few people in Twitter talking about it, but it slid under the rug. But you know what, that's a double standard. Just, girls, stop jumping guys because you can. And it's not the first person. Even on TikTok, like there was this whole trend of telling your crush you like them, and there are a lot of girls that would try to kiss boys without asking them first, or without I don't know, man. I just know that there are things that we do as females that if males did in this day and age, it would cause a whole ruckus. I just think the same way we don't want them to have double standards for men. There shouldn't be double standards, but this should work both ways. Like if something is wrong for a man to do, it should be wrong for a woman to do. So yeah, just saying, this thing was not alright. Either way, it gave us the beautiful storyline of Peter trying to reject Lara Jean over and over again, and her explaining how she has actually written these letters over and over again, and comes the contract and them forming a contract to fake date, which was hilarious because first of all, they talked about movies. Speaking of movies, one of the movies that was in the contract was 16 Candles. 16 Candles is one of the worst movies I've ever watched in the history of time. Come for me, all of y'all. I also like the fact that one of the parts of the contract was Lara Jean saying that there will be no kissing. I think in a day and age where things, because she said she didn't want all her firsts to be fake and there was a whole back and forth. I think in a day and age where a lot of people just like the way Peter presented it, like kissing is no object, like it's just, you can just kiss anybody randomly, which they are actors, so technically they are kissing everybody and anybody, but then they call that work. That's work for them. But to see it being presented in the sense of a teenage girl being to know enough of herself to say, you know what, now like this is all fun and games, but I don't want everything to be fake, including my first kiss, or like just point was no negotiation, no kissing, period. Now, the idea that came afterwards was what made me laugh. The whole putting hands in the back pocket. I feel like that would be the most uncomfortable thing for me. I mean, someone's hand in my back pocket. It didn't make sense to me, but you know, it made sense for them or whatever. For me, I was like, you know, he could hold your waist. You could, you know, there's so many ways to insinuate y'all are a thing. But then again, it's America. Y'all live in a separate culture from the rest of the world, and that is the truth. Anywho, that didn't make sense to me. I think that would have been very uncomfortable, but you know, it worked for the movie. Also, I kind of want to tie my hair back because it's now getting, it's hot. Now, this is when the movie gets really interesting, and the core of this movie is how they get to be friends, like going to parties together, and how we see the character of Peter Kaminsky being this super extrovert boy, and Lara Jean is a very introverted person, and then being able to men and bring out that side of each other, like being in some really serious conversations that a person like Peter would normally not be, because he, you know, he's the popular guy and goes to parties, and you know, they drink and play games and whatever, but they never really sit down and have deep conversations in most cases. And so him, Lara Jean bringing out that side of him, meanwhile Peter bringing Lara Jean's side out of, like, you know, being outgoing and, you know, going out to parties and hanging out with friends. And oh, can you talk about Lucas? Is a sweet. I love Lucas. I love Lucas. I love their friendship, Lucas and Lara Jean. It's hilarious. It's just another thing that makes this whole movie come together. It's really funny. And some of the best scenes for me were the kitchen conversation, the restaurant conversation about, you know, the more people you let in, the more the people that go, and just all these moments are what build like cute, beautiful relationships, and the lighting was perfect, and everything was just put together so perfectly. And basically, just, you know what, Jenny Han, right? Cast me in one of your movies. Just eventually makes sense why they ended up falling for each other, because let's be honest, with all those cute moments, friendship or whatever, they did end up falling for each other. But like many other movies, or like we see in real life, we don't talk about our feelings. We prefer living in fear. So Peter is catching feelings, but he's still holding on to his first, which I interrupt this program to say what we see here is called a soul tie. What a soul tie is, when you have sex with somebody, you get tied with that somebody. Your souls get tied together, and it becomes very hard for you to let go of that somebody. Anyway, moving back. For more information about that, if you can't get over your ex, if you can't get over your first, DM me and we can pray about it and talk about it. Anyway, so Peter can't get over his ex, but he's catching feelings for Lara Jean. Lara Jean's catching feelings for him, but he's the popular boy, and she thinks he's still into her, which was not a lie. So eventually they go for a trip together, but Lara Jean doesn't want to do anything, which these things never made sense to me. You go for a school trip and don't want to have fun. We had people like this too, and I'm like, then why did you come for the trip though? You came to the trip so you can stay in the room. Actually, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, if our rooms were as nice as actually they were, you know what? That's a tangent. Okay, so they end up going for the trip, and before the trip, we get the conversation with the dad. Let me tell you, I laughed so hard at this scene because I can relate 110%. I had this conversation, okay, not 110, because for me it was my mom. My mom gave me this conversation at like 14 years old. I was like, I was horrified. Like literally, you see that scene, almost every single thing spoken, if not more. That's exactly what my mom told me. I was just like, dude, I'm planning to stay a virgin till I'm married, so like, you can keep your information to yourself. But yeah, it was really funny to watch another parent do that, and I think more parents should do that. It was a very refreshing thing to see, because parents, stop. I know there are people who watch my videos that are actually parents now. please, when the time is right, or if you're watching this and you already have a teenage child, I don't think I have any viewer old like that. Oh my gosh. If you have a teenage child like now, I don't think all you beautiful adult people watch this madness. But like any of my age mates, when you're finally parents, do not do what our parents, most of our parents, my parent was different, but most of our parents, like especially in the African setting, would not talk about this, would not talk about sex ed, would not talk about condoms, would not talk about like anything to do with sex. And so it was refreshing, and as a teenager it's horrifying, but later you realize that it was so good for like my parent to actually talk to me about that, because he leaves this open space where a child feels safe to come to you for all these things. And so I urge all my other, this is especially for Africans and maybe for Asians too, because I know they can also be very closed off, that can we all follow the example of Lara Jean's dad when our time comes and be open with our children? Because let me tell you, the world is very open with them. If we aren't open with them, they be lost. They be doing weird stuff, and they won't be able to feel safe enough to come to us. Look at me giving parental advice when I still considering the possibility of having children. What was I talking about? I was talking about the trip. And then comes the famous jacuzzi scene. Let me tell you, if you've watched my reviews before, then you probably know I really don't like sexual scenes. And I know this wasn't super sexual or whatever, but like for me, when water meets, it was a really cute scene. It was beautiful, a beautiful conversation. I loved it until they started making out in the jacuzzi. Then I was like, thank God it didn't last very long. Whatever. So I was a fan of the conversation, but like the whole make out jacuzzi scene, I wasn't a fan. And that's okay, because I like what I like, people like what they like. That's just me. And moving on, now after the good night part, like there are just so many cute scenes, cute moments in this movie. Anywho, they end up breaking up, if you can call it that, because, well, they were never together in the first place. I mean, maybe they got together in the movie. I mean, oh my gosh, guys, can we think about Peter? Like, I went all the way across town to get the Korean yogurts. Actually, I want to try Korean yogurts. Where can I get Korean yogurts? Anybody out there, Tanzanians, that know where I can get Korean yogurts? Holla, you go. Oh wait, I won't be able to get them during this season. Can the virus just end and we can resume real life? You know what? Let's wrap this up, because clearly I am losing my mind currently. Anywho, the breakup happens because of lack of communication, which she continues to ignore Peter. Peter continues to try to talk to her, but he continues to ignore her, which is what happens in everyday life. People don't communicate, people don't talk, and blah, 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 blah. Which makes sense in this case because, dude, she had her favorite scrunchie. I'd be mad too, but I would talk about it. But then we see that when they finally get a chance to have a communication, and she finally is able to admit her feelings, and he's able to tell her that, you know what, that I was just telling her that we were done. Though in real sense, it didn't make sense. Like, why did you feel the need to go tell her that you're done? You could have been just done. But again, soul ties. Point is, they end up talking about it. Actually, we see Josh giving some wisdom, setting some wisdom in place. But point is, they end up talking, and they make these love proclamations, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. So generally, this is one of the movies that I would recommend for anyone to watch, because it's cute and beautiful and gives a love story, and it was refreshing to see something like this on Netflix from Hollywood. I can't wait for more of this. I've watched the second, I can't wait to do a review of that one. And yeah, okay. And you know, if you like that, or maybe you like something else, feel free to breeze through the channel, check out the next video, and the next video, and the next video, and subscribe to the channel, comment anything else you'd like to see, and like this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.